All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the show. It is your favorite Jackson, and joining me today is my host and co-host. I can talk, I promise. Peter, welcome back.
Yes, welcome back indeed. I mean, I didn't even make it to my own show. I was going to do a
Well, at
show.
least you made it to this.
Yeah, I was going to do a show on is there evidence for demons? And then my modem gave in just before the show. Just like your camera just did. Oh no, it's back. It's back.
Huh?
We have to
Weird. Okay.
I will not mention demons again.
Okay. Fair enough. And then also we have Nestlig.
Hello. Good to be back since last week.
Yep. Oh, Peter, can we switch to the one camera?
I'll do that when we switch to the video because otherwise we're going to mess up the screen a little. I forgot. My bad.
That's okay. Yes. Let's see. Who all do we have today? Hello, everybody. We got Icarus and DM Original In Situ Academic Excavation Wing. Let's see. We have Star Song and is everybody? Katina, Alex Markle, Mr. Cliff, Moo, Smitty, co-host, host, and co-host of Jackson Peter. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Well, hello everybody. All right. So we are continuing onward with. Sorry, I got an email for a thing right before I opened it. Nope, it's working. Okay. We're continuing onward with Kurt Wise. Last week we talked about, we had Nestlig talk about entropy and how it relates to evolution and all that good stuff, which was fun and interesting. So we're back to the less intellectual side of our channel, which is watching creationists. So I guess we'll listen to Kurt Wise continue to tell us about how the flood only appears to support evolution. Because if you'll remember, we watched the first, I think, 30 minutes of it, and
Yes.
all he said was, "Wow, it looks really evolutionary, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy how wherever you go, it seems to follow the evolutionary pattern? That's so wild." Yeah. It's so wild.
I'm wondering if his audience is getting worried by now. I mean, half an hour in, and God didn't get a mention, but the evolutionists are right. Can't be.
Yep.
It can be true.
Was this presentation held by AIG or something?
The talk, actually, I don't know who hosted it. It was Kurt Wise, and he seemed like he was in like a classroom, so I don't know where. And he said it was right after Andrew Snelling had given a talk, so I would assume it was like some room at like the Creation Museum or something where they hold lectures. That's my assumption. I have no idea.
I should just imagine like Ken Ham just happening in the background, listening and saying like, "Oh, what the hell." For the first half an hour, like get to the point where you say it's all consistent with creationism. Yeah,
please, dear God, please. Yeah. Oh, and Dragon Spartan 90 official. Hello. Yeah, hello everybody. Yeah, it was very funny just watching him say, "Wow, isn't this consistent with evolution over and over again?"
It's a bad day for creationists, isn't it? I mean, have you heard the latest of our dear friend Kent Hovind?
Yes. So Kent was bitten by a rattlesnake today.
Yes.
Condolences to the snake. You don't know who I'm talking about. And so yeah, he's in the hospital right now. So
yeah, so he's Dr. Kent Hovind and he knows everything. And then a snake escapes from your petty little zoo. Oh no, a petting zoo? Petty zoo? I don't know. A snake escaped, and then he picks up a random snake, and that turns out to be a rattlesnake. But
because remember, he lives in the woods.
Yes, but he's got his zapper, right? His
taser, yeah.
taser, and so he starts tasing himself frantically, and it doesn't work.
Because, folks, so as I understand it, he thinks that the energy will denature the proteins.
Yes.
So if you tase yourself,
Yes,
he thinks it will denature.
But you
the venom.
can't. You can't just tase yourself because, funny enough, before I even heard about this, I got a video in my go and watch this thingy on YouTube, which was a 4-minute video of Kent Hovind talking about how to counter poisonous snakes. So now we know that this was a venomous snake, not a poisonous snake. So maybe the thing works on poisonous snakes, but not on venomous snakes. I don't know. But apparently you have to zap it crosswise. So you have to zap it twice in a cross because Jesus, I think. Maybe he didn't do that. We still don't know.
Like he really believes it's the tasing.
Yes. Yes.
Like honestly, I shouldn't be surprised because he already believes that amygdalin is a vitamin. So.
Well, he tried it out on a wasp sting, and it worked on a wasp sting. So apparently, because wasps and snakes don't have a common ancestor, do they? According to creationism. So maybe that's why it didn't work. I mean, we don't know, do we?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It was very funny. I mean, it's very crazy that he thinks tasing himself will do that, which, I mean, in some sense, if you have enough energy to denature the proteins in snake venom that are in your blood, you have probably just cooked yourself alive, and you don't really need to worry about the snake venom anymore. So, problem solved.
A flamethrower can also cure cancer.
Correct. That's very true. Yeah, no one who was hit with a flamethrower is worried about cancer. Very true. Yeah. So very silly stuff. This is the same guy who thinks that like eating apricot seeds can cure cancer.
Yeah, amygdalin. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you said that. That's right. Yeah. So he thinks.
No worries.
Which he thinks it's like breaks down into it has like cyanide, isn't it? Isn't that one of the?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
If you eat enough, you will just overdose.
Frozen again?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know why that happens.
Is that no? Dang. Well, guess I'm going off camera again today. Okay. That's very frustrating. I don't know why this keeps happening. Okay, well, whatever.
It breaks down into cyanide. Although you do, I don't know exactly how many you need to take to get an effect. So as long, I'm not sure exactly how many would produce a lethal dose. Like bitter almonds can be pretty potent.
Couldn't we ask Kent Hovind to see if he can conduct a test? I'm just kidding. He might be stupid enough to do it too, if we ask him.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Shall we get?
Still not working. Okay.
Shall we get to the?
Oh, I see.
The video.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I see. I see that the EU safety says that more than 3 apricot seeds can exceed safe levels.
Cool.
More than 3. Yeah.
But that's the EU, Nestle. That's not those aren't true American scientists. That's the EU, and we all know that they're woke and Marxist and I don't know what they all are. But Jackson, we do have a super chat. You wanna check the super chat? Hello.
True, the Europeans are all communists. So
yeah.
Sorry, I had to go take care of something. All right, I think we are. We ready?
No, yeah, super chat.
Oh, do we? Okay, let me flip on Nova. All right, Savage. What is his name this week? It's hard to see.
Rocks are made of fire, Cobra.
Oh, okay. For $5, says advice for Kent Hovind only. Shocking the wound doesn't do anything. You have to apply the taser directly to the balls. Very true. Very true.
Someone should go tell
It
Kent.
only works for Kent Hovind, though. It works for no one else. Only Kent Hovind.
He probably likes that. I would say.
That might be a hobby. We don't know. Never mind. It's...
Only allegedly, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, ready? Oh,
yeah.
And PZ is here. You're early. PZ, you get to watch us listen to I'll finish that statement. Kurt Wise, there we go. You know what I was thinking about the other day, actually? I was thinking about Donald Prothero. I wonder how he's doing. I wonder if he still does like any anti-creationism stuff, because he used to do that. I don't know if he still does. Oh well.
I don't know. By the way, Jackson, if we go to the video and you want to refresh real quick to see whether or not you can't get your camera back working, that'll work.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Because nope, we're still.
Okay.
All right. Well, they don't need to see my face. They know what I look like.
Yeah. Shall we get to the confirmation of evolution?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay.
Can you also bring
the
screen?
Yeah.
Can you make the
evidence of stromatolitic reefs, which would suggest long periods of time. We've got diamictites, which is interpreted as a glacial deposit, which is slowly deposited. So we have an awful long period of time indicated here as it's understood.
Already?
Yes, I maybe if we forgot to mention this, but his slides are so horrible. Like blue letters on the blue background.
That's true. That is pretty bad.
No, never mind. Continue.
Traditionally. There's some things that are a little problematic, though, in that traditional interpretation. For example, in the superphylum sequence, we have an interesting observation. If you look more closely, and this was interesting, this is something that a class I was in at Harvard University among graduate students. A graduate seminar typically is the kind of thing where each graduate student is supposed to bring in, is supposed to run the class for a topic. And so each of us bone up on whatever it is that we're supposed to do for that class, and we come in and present for the class discusses it, and that sort of thing. And so we were in a class with Stephen Jay Gould. We were studying the Cambrian explosion. That was the subject of the claess. So at this point, we're familiar with the Ediacaran fauna, the Timoshan fauna, the Atbanian fauna. So alas, different graduate students get assigned Atbanian fauna, another person Timoshan fauna.
Okay. Which remember, so if he's in class as a graduate student, I think he said with Stephen Jay Gould, or like Stephen Jay Gould was teaching that. So this would have been like what, the 80s, 90s, maybe? Because Wonderful Life came out in 87, and the view of the Cambrian that Wonderful Life presents is not one that has withstood the test of time. So I'm curious. Oh, and RJ's here. Hello, RJ. I'm curious, like, what he thinks of the Cambrian explosion versus what we now understand. Do you guys remember if he mentioned at all when this lecture was taking place?
I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't think so. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, we can keep going.
Yeah, my bad. I was in the room next door, so I couldn't quite hear you saying.
Well, first I was away from the computer, and then you were away from the computer. Next is Nest League.
Yeah, but I can still do things on screen, but I have to hear as well, and that's fair. Didn't quite work. So
okay, so RJ and PZ are saying like that would have been the 80s. So yeah, so the view of the Cambrian in the 80s is really not the one that we have today. So I'm curious to know like where he's going to go with this. So we'll see.
I like didn't Stephen Jay Gould believe that like the Cambrian explosion was like, oh, you have like many different, like more different body plans than survive today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was an inverted Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Or sorry. Yeah. Wait. No. It was a Christmas tree, which is what you expect is the inverted Christmas tree, because you expect to start with like a common ancestor that then spreads out into a bunch of forms.
Yeah.
But what he said we observed in Wonderful Life is that you have a bunch of forms, and then they all get weeded out, and then you have other paleontologists like was it like Richard Forty and what is it, Briggs, I think is another one, and these guys kind of came along in the early 2000s, like 90s 2000s, and reassessed, like did an actual assessment of the disparity of forms in the Cambrian, and we're like, no, not really. It seems like there was a filling of the bucket, and then the bucket kind of stayed the same size in terms of disparity for the rest of the Phanerozoic. Now you have different. Now there was a paper that pointed out the actual morphospace occupied by that disparity has changed over time, but the disparity today is not less than the disparity in the Cambrian. Was the point?
It's actually very interesting that even though the total, like the area occupied hasn't changed much, but the location of that area has changed.
Yes.
I wonder why that is the case.
I don't remember. I can try to find that paper and send it to you because they probably discussed that.
It would be interesting. Yeah.
Let me. Yeah, I'll go look for that paper. But yeah, we can let it play.
You're just bringing back memories with your inverted Christmas tree. I've had one, actually.
You've had an inverted Christmas tree?
Yes.
Stick it to Jesus.
I like to do practical. I like to do practical jokes. So there was a year where I put the Christmas tree up on the ceiling, and I sawed off all the branches, drilled holes in the tree, and put them in upside down or the right side up, however you want to look at it. And then waited for my girlfriend to come home. It was
I think I found that paper. Wait, nope, that's not it. Okay, let me try again. Wait. Here it is. I found it. Yeah, Lofgren 2003. Yes. Okay. All right, Nestle. I'll shoot you that paper. Yeah, morphological diversity of Carboniferous arthropods and insights on disparity patterns through the Phanerozoic is the name of that paper.
Nestle.
I'll put it here in our live chat.
Nestle, how did you know this?
I know you too well.
Yes.
Oh, also, RJ says this lecture was in 2017.
2017.
Okay. Thank you, RJ. I appreciate it.
The day.
Are you're sending it in the live chat or in the private chat?
Well, I was going to send it in... Hold on. I was going to send it in the live chat.
Do we know...
So that everybody could...
Do we know how the speaker is today? Because his hands have started turning blue. I'm not sure.
This is the thumbnail for the next show, if we are doing a next show.
Turning into a Smurf on screen. Okay, want me to hit play?
Yes, please.
Fauna, another person, the Ediacaran fauna, another person, the Acritarchs, another person. You know, so we got a dozen students each coming in each time with different material. And after we were presenting and discussing this for a while, we began realizing that there's an interesting characteristic for these things. The Ediacaran fauna, I got those signatures on the wrong scheme. These two should be switched. Sorry about that. But the Ediacaran fauna almost invariably is found in sand. And that's interesting that any given fauna would be found in only one lithosome, only one type of rock. The Timoshan fauna, sorry, it's a misaside, is always in carbonates. And the Albanian fauna is always in shale. So they go, wait a minute. This is something not right here. We've got a sequence of organisms,
Hold
a
on,
sequence
let's pause for a
of
moment.
fauna.
let's pause. Okay, so he said the Ediacaran fauna is always in sandstone. So let's try Avalon. What would you say? Avalon explosion, I guess. The Avalon explosion. Okay. Okay. I'm curious to know what sort of does it say? Does it say what kind of geology these guys were found in? Avalon Peninsula. Let me try that. Large peninsula. Okay. Known for found on Mistaken Point. Here we go. That's what I was looking for. So Mistaken Point. Fossils. Okay, but what is the geology of it? What is the geology? It is home to geological heritage site. Here we go. Best example. Okay, let's try it this way. What is this geology of Mistaken Point fossils? Uh-oh. Womp womp. Nestle, do you want to take a guess as to whether or not he was wrong about that?
Guessing from your tone, I guess he is wrong.
Geology of Mistaken Point, which, if you'll remember, is early Ediacaran. Quote, Mistaken Point formation includes many fine ash beds, which are a good source of zircons used in the uranium-lead method of radiometric dating, allowing the site to be confidently dated to approximately 565 million years old. These fine-grained volcanic ash beds also preserve finely detailed fossils. Crazy. How about that? Literally the first one I looked up.
It also makes sense because these fossils were very delicate, so it takes very fine ash to preserve them, probably.
So it's these unusual impressions of previously unknown soft-bodied sea animals on the surfaces of argillites, which are a type of mudstone. Yep. Included coelenterites and other metazoa of the Ediacaran period. Okay, so it's mudstone and ash beds. Wow. So he is completely wrong right off the bat. Like it took what, 2 minutes of Googling to show that he was wrong? Cool. Okay.
I think he's probably going to make the argument that, these are different
environments,
different environments or layers. Like first the flood deposited this layer, and then the flood deposited this layer, and such. Yeah.
No, it's entirely possible that like when he took this class in the 80s, presumably, like that was all they knew. Like they only had maybe the Ediacara Hills, which is sandstone, and like maybe one formation that's Timoshan and one formation that's at Debanian. Okay, that's possible. But I got news, Kurt, it ain't the 80s anymore. We are like 40 years or so onward from that. So that argument doesn't really fly anymore. What did he say? The at Debanian was all carbonate rocks?
I don't recall. Does it show on the slide? Or,
Peter, would you mind? Peter, could you rewind like 30 seconds, please? Would that be possible? Okay.
Fauna. I got those signatures on the wrong scheme. These two should be switched. Sorry about that. But the Ediacaran fauna almost invariably is found in sand.
Okay,
and that's interesting that any given fauna would be found in only one lithosome, only one type of rock. The Timoshan fauna, sorry, it's misassigned, is always in carbonates.
Okay, so
and the Albanian fauna is always.
Okay, so Timoshan is always in carbonate. So let's see. Let's see about that. It is commonly referred to as the Timoshan. Okay. I am not as familiar with this stage of the Cambrian. So Cambrian stage 2. Okay, so let's see. First appearance of some mollusks, and some trilobites. Okay. Oh, sorry. For the proposed upper boundary might be the first appearance of trilobites. Okay. Well, let's take a look. All right, let's see. So, working groups. Okay, so here's a recent paper. Let's take a look. Let's see what sort of rock. Can we access this paper? Yes, we can. Okay. Simple summary. Aldanella adelborensis is a mollusk fossil found worldwide. First appearance has been suggested as one of the potential markers for defining the base of the Cambrian stage 2. That's the Timoshan. However, it is uncommonly recovered from the Cambrian strata of South China, and if occurring, was usually described as a different species or an indeterminate species due to a lack of detailed taxonomic work. This is an obvious obstacle to correlate and subdivide the Cambrian strata in South China and worldwide. Recently, numerous specimens of Aldanella were collected from member 5 of the Yanzhe Formation. I totally butchered that one. In the Three Gorges area, South China, which is the type locality of one of the species of Aldanella. Okay. Yeah, stratigraphic unit, biomarker. Okay, well, let's see. Do they have a geological assessment of the site? I hope so. All right, is this? Dang it. What does it say? Nope, that's chronostratigraphic. Nope. Okay, well, let's try something. Let's see. Did you say it was carbonate? The word carbonate is not used in this. So what about... Oh, here we go. Geological settings, materials, and methods. I think those are carbonates, though. Dolostone, I think that is one. Or is it? Is a fine-grained sedimentary rock. Is a sedimentary carbonate rock. Yeah, okay. So limestone, pretty sure is also in that group. Okay, so this one, so yeah, the member 2 is consisting of, yeah, these dolostones. Okay. I really don't know as much about this one, so it's entirely possible that most of the geological sites for Cambrian Stage 2 are primarily carbonate rock. That's entirely possible. However, as we saw, he was wrong on the first one. You can play a little bit more.
Was in shale. It's like, no,
Shale,
wait a
okay.
minute. This is
All right,
something not right here.
Okay, so the Atdebanian, he says, is in shale. Atdebanian, so that's Cambrian Stage 3. I have no idea. Tentative correlation between those. I could try that one. Dang it, this paper is not open access. I love when papers aren't open. Oh, wait. Maybe it is. Yeah, it is. He said this one was shale. This says it's limestone. This says, though, that the formation is limestone. The Parara limestone. Does it break it down better? Maybe not. The 8th level is the... no, hold on. The South Australian Abadiella zone correlates with the Parabadiella zone based on the occurrence of this species in both regions. The Pararaya zone from the Parara limestone. Is that this, I guess? I wish they made this clearer. I'm just very quickly trying to read this. What was it called? The Parara limestone? Where is that? It's hard to read this paper. Maybe not. Maybe they don't have it in this paper. Okay. Well, at any rate, so limestone. So it has it says there is limestone. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this part. Okay, so he's wrong. So okay. So I was able to pretty quickly show that he was wrong about the geology of 2 of those assertions within like 5 or so minutes of Googling. So both the Ediacaran and the Abdabanian, when he says, okay, the Ediacaran is primarily or is sand, that's not true. Some sites are sand, but some sites are not, which would indicate, based on what Nestlig said earlier, he's probably going to use this to say, okay, these are different environments. Different different environments on Earth at the same time. Which, no, it's not necessarily true. You can't know the age of it just based on the rocks that make it up. Like, that's not how that works. Which, interestingly, that was a really old idea. I remember reading in a New History of Life by Ward and Kirschvink that was an early idea, that basically different types of rock were made at like different times in the Earth's history, which I thought was kind of neat, but obviously it's wrong. So, okay, I think I've derailed us long enough. We can keep going.
We've got a sequence of organisms, a sequence of faunas that are they're each specific to a particular type of rock. It's a facies dependent, facies would refer to the type of rock.
Except it isn't.
That's a facies dependent faunal sequence. That sounds a little bit, and we were discussing this, that sounds a little bit like Volter's law. There is this law that it's a principle in geology. If you see a series of different lithosomes stacked in a particular order, it could be that the order is due to a transgression event or a regression event, where the first thing is formed in shallow water, the next thing is formed in deeper water,
that doesn't work,
the next
though.
thing is formed in even deeper water. There could be that.
All right, pause, please. So that doesn't work as an explanation for this.
He reminds me of Nephilim. No, what was that? The Joe something, who said that some stupid creationist who recently got back on Twitter. He said that the layers on the bottom were the youngest. I don't know if you've noticed that he puts the shallow water not on the top but on the bottom, and then as it goes deeper he goes up. I'm not sure if that is how it worked. I think that
that's not the guy who thinks that like the Earth is expanding, right?
No. Well, I don't know what he thinks, actually. I don't know if he even thinks he did. So we had Cypher on for a few shows. Cypher did several debates with him regarding the flood, and so the arguments were hilarious. I mean, even Kent Hovind wouldn't use any of his arguments because they're so stupid. But he said that the layers on the bottom were the youngest because they were there first.
Oh, that's how that works.
Yes.
Yeah, when you throw your dirty clothes on the floor, they like stack inverted, right? That's how that works. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
You throw it on top of a pile and it sinks to the bottom. I think that's how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Okay, so how do we know that this argument is totally bogus? Well, there's no evidence that we actually know when marine transgressions. So basically, when the the coast is like coming closer and then going out further over geological time, we know when this happens. Like it can be observed in the geologic record. It is ridiculous to suggest that these different ecosystems are the result of transgressions. Like that's just nonsense. That is definitely not the case. Um, Especially since we have like shallow deposits and deep water deposits for all these different time periods. Like in the Ediacaran, these are primarily like shallow water organisms because the deep water was anoxic, and we know this based on the types of rocks that formed in the deep oceans in the late Ediacaran. Like they were anoxic. But then the deep oceans became progressively more oxygenated as you go into the Phanerozoic. So there was a rise in the oxygen levels both in the ocean and in the atmosphere. And so both the surface waters and the deep waters both became oxygenated. So this explanation just doesn't work. Like it's just not borne out by any evidence at all. There's no reason to think that like I don't know that like it's impossible for like shallow environments to make carbonate rocks or vice versa, that like shallow environments can't make carbonate rocks, because one of those has to be the argument, and that just doesn't make any sense either way. So whatever. So anyway, remember, he's still wrong. Like his premise that these organisms are correlated with particular geologic formations or with particular types of geology, I should say, sorry, is just wrong. And it took like 5 minutes of Google searching. So that's wrong right off the bat. So going from that premise to, well, maybe it's marine transgressions is also wrong, because we know that transgressions happen and they can be observed in the record. And we know that that transgressions are not responsible for these environments. So just each step of this argument is wrong. Do you guys want to add anything?
Not yet. I'm curious to see, because I think we have a rogue Otangelo in the chat. Not sure yet, but I'm checking. And okay. So it is a channel that seems to have Otangelo's artwork on it. So yeah, could be. Could be. Right, joined June 1, 2024. Yeah. That's Otangelo.
Whack. Ruh-roh, bye, Otangelo.
Otangelo's really not good at making sock accounts, is he?
Womp womp. All right, we can keep going.
Okay.
What you see vertically could be reflective of what the world was like horizontally at the time of deposition. So you're actually not looking at three different aged things. You're looking at three different things at different positions. So for example, on a typical understanding, traditional understanding of the shoreline, you've got sand at the shore, you've got mud offshore, and you've got reefs out beyond that.
Only
so
offshore.
Got sandstone, shale,
right. Wait, pause for a
mud,
moment.
Shale.
You're right, because this argument is going to rely on the idea that these organisms never at any point during the flood were ever buried with each other, which is insane. It is a truly insane argument. Like, you have to say, oh yeah, so those bottom-dwelling fish and organisms that we have today, like just magically, for whatever reason, we have no idea why, they were never ever buried alongside trilobites. No idea why. It just didn't happen. Even though they occupied the same niches in the same types of environments, we've never found a flounder with a trilobite or a whale with a mosasaur, or something like that, or a plesiosaur or an ichthyosaur. They just never ran into each other. And there was a chart I saw one time, and I had to laugh. But it was basically like trying to explain how index fossils exist, and it was like all the ammonites that are different index fossils like occupy these very, very thin regions of the ocean, like all simultaneously. It's like this species is like a foot higher than this other species, which is a foot higher than this other species, and they never interact with each other ever. It's perfectly like balanced in their little microcosm. And I just thought that was so funny. Because it's just so silly. They're like the contortions you have to do to believe that kind of stuff is truly insane. Anyway, all right, we can keep going.
Yeah. You have a super chat, and I'm slightly confused because are we talking about the name or are we talking about the video in this super chat?
I think he's talking about Kurt. $2 from Savage Rockstar. What was it again? I can't see it.
Rocks are made of fire cobra. So
rocks are made of fire cobra. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, and thank you for the $2.
Savage says this argument is bullshit. The argument on screen, or that rocks are made out of fire?
No, you're mispronouncing it. No, what? You're mispronouncing it. It's oops. There you go. It's a rock pun.
I'm just pulling Savage's leg.
Did you see in our private chat? It's a rock pun.
No, I can't see the private chat.
You can't see our private chat?
Okay. Yeah, I saw it.
Also, Maya Atkinson is here. Hello. Welcome to the show. Yeah, it refers to Savage rocks are made of fire cobra. Okay, is that from a Dapper stream? Because I don't know that one. That's very funny.
Shall I kick Otangelo this time? Because I know you want him kicked anyway, so.
Didn't I kick him?
Yeah.
I think I did.
But he's.
Yeah, I think I kicked him.
Yeah, but he's back already.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Flog liveaboard.
I hadn't
was Otangelo too.
Be a genius to discover its. Oh goodness gracious. Okay. Okay, whatever. Anyway, all right. Back to the video.
And then horizontally outward, you've got carbonate. So if you see a sequence of sandstone shale carbonate in a vertical sequence, you might think, well, what's actually going on here are three different facies that existed side by side that are just, in this case, buried on top of one another.
Or the argument could just be feces.
This argument is feces, yeah.
Yes, bovine feces.
Now remember, we have a way to test this hypothesis, right? We can test this hypothesis by radiometrically dating the rocks. And if it happens that all the rocks are the same age, then that would be corroboration for this argument. But that's not what happens, right? And again, what he's trying to do is he's going to have to argue that these organisms that live in almost the same environments, like they live very close to each other at the exact same time, never overlapped, ever. There's zero evidence. We have overlap in time between, there are certain organisms that only lived in the late Ediacaran, then certain organisms that only lived in the Timoshan, then in the Atabanian. And you have to explain why, like, there's no overlap ever between these organisms, which according to Kurt, were all like living near each other. There's zero explanation for that. That is why the index fossil challenge exists, because they have no way to explain this. Okay, we can keep going.
Hold on. What did he say again about the motion? Like, what layers did he say?
He said the
it was?
motion was always carbonate.
Carbonate.
So he said, well, I could put it here in our chat. So ediacaran
Right.
was sand, so I guess sandstone. Then motion was carbonate, and then Adebanian was shales. There we go.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, we can keep going.
Because water came in over the land or something like that. So we recognize that this might mean that these three faunas are not separated in time, but are separated horizontally. That they're horizontal expressions, three different fauna living at the same time. They get buried in sequence only because water's coming in or water's going out.
Okay,
and so at any given point in time, you got the shallow water critters and then the...
No Dickinsonia ever got washed up a little bit farther towards the shore, or a Timoshan creature got washed a little bit farther out to sea. Like, that never happened. A worldwide flood, the most powerful flood the world has ever seen, that supposedly like moved continents and stuff, couldn't move a couple like almost microscopic organisms in one direction or the other, apparently. Like, phenomenal reasoning. Okay, anyway.
Medium, deep critters, and then the deep critters superimposed on top of one another, but they're not different times. Now, this was disturbing to this group that I'm talking with, because of course there was traditionally understood 100 million years of time here. So how do you reconcile this? Well, fortunately,
wait a second.
Or maybe
Hold
it's
on, pause. Okay, the Ediacaran to the Adebanian, that's not 100. Wait, the late Ediacaran, because that's Dickinsonia, so that's like mid Ediacaran. That's like what? Hold on, what even is that? So Dickinsonia was like 555 million years ago, wasn't it? I think. Yeah, 560. Okay, so 550 million years ago was when Dickinsonia disappeared. So 550 to the Adebanian. So Cambrian stage 3. That was like 40 million years. Okay, it was like at most like 50 million years. So at absolute most, like half. Not 100 million years. Also, Mr. Cliff, for €5, you can find out in what areas Noah's Ark was floating by looking for the turdidite layer deposits. I guess so. Okay, we can keep going.
Fortunate. A couple of the graduate students were assigned the issue of radiometric dating. And there was a radiometric revolution in dating of the Cambrian, Precambrian boundary occurring at the same time. And we recognized that there was a trend of redating all of these rocks. And rather than there being 100 to 150 million years, it was now down to about 20 million years, and it looked like it was going to keep going. And in fact, we concluded as a group that the data suggested that this whole unit wasn't 100.
They concluded as a group?
Wait, what? Hold on. But it's not true. It's 50. There's like as I just said, there's like 40 to 50 million, depending. Like, what? It's not going to keep going? What are you talking about? This has been the... What? He's like, yeah, no, at some point in the future, the radiometric dating for Dickinsonia and the Adabanian will just be the same. Like, no, sorry, that's insane. Nope, not happening. This is just flatly wrong. He's just making a supposition based on no evidence. No evidence. Fascinating.
100 million years of time, but something less than a radiometric pixel at 5 million years. When you're 500 million years ago, the Cambrian, 5 million years is 1%. That's a radiometric pixel. You can't see anything smaller than 1%. Arguably, you really can't see anything less than 10%, but you certainly can't distinguish the different ages of things.
That is just simply not true.
It's only 1% apart. And so,
okay, but these aren't 1%
even
apart.
though it hadn't
They're
gotten there
10%
yet,
apart.
it would. In the couple of years to follow, it would get
No,
there.
that hasn't happened.
We concluded that the radiometric data was suggesting that there's less than a radiometric pixel between these three faunas. Add
Wait,
that
that's
to
wrong,
the facies
though.
issues of the
Pause.
Pause for a moment.
Can I
That's
ask
just flatly wrong.
what's a radiometric pixel?
He's
Yes.
saying like, yeah,
I mean-
he keeps using that phrase. He's saying like 1%. He's saying so 5 million years. He's saying is a radiometric pixel, which I guess he's like pretending like you look at radiometric data like a computer monitor, I guess, because that makes sense. That's how that works.
It's like you're measuring the length of something, and like, oh, this is like 500 million years long, and this is 505 million years long. So the
Radiometric
difference is very slight. Yeah, I don't know.
radiometric dating is measured in JPEGs.
Correct.
Yes.
No,
Correct.
when I'm trying to figure out how long something is, I ask how many grams it is. That's
Yeah.
That's how I measure length in grams. No,
That'll
so
work.
obviously that's silly. But yeah, as I said, so the Ediacaran ended approximately 540 or 541 million years ago. That's when the Ediacaran ended. The Atdabanian Cambrian Stage 3 ended around 514 million years ago. So like 40 million years later. So this idea that they're only 5 million years apart is ridiculous. That's not true. It's simply not true. This is crazy. Like, I don't know how you could believe that in 2017. If you were making this argument in, I mean, like, if it wouldn't be true in the 80s, obviously, because you didn't have the data to support it then, but you still don't have the data now. There was never a time when it was thought that the difference between the end of the Ediacaran and, or maybe even the start of the Adabanian was only 5 million years. There is simply no evidence for that. Like, this was never a thing at any point. Also, Savage Rocks Are Made of Fire. Cobra, thank you for the $5. I appreciate it. Yeah, Kurt is he is spreading some nonsense that has never happened. It was never true at any point that the difference in those time periods was only 5 million years. That never happened at any point.
Isn't radiometric dating also like a logarithmic? So the difference between even a slight time interval, you can see a noticeable change in the amount of decay, probably. But maybe I'm guessing at this point. And I don't know about that. Do you know?
I don't know.
I'm curious, Jackson. Are we talking about 500 million BC? Before creation?
Right, yes. Before creation, yeah.
Yeah.
Faunas, and we concluded these faunas don't represent successive faunas. They represent three faunas at the same time.
That is simply false.
Buried in that order, but not living in that order. So,
okay, pause. Pause. Okay, again, this is just simply factually inaccurate. There is no evidence to support this at all. He is wrong. Again, he's wrong that each of these is just like one specific type of rock. He's wrong about the time period. He's wrong about the environment. Like, every stage of this argument is wrong. It is irreparably incorrect.
And also, like, it's also like even assuming that like the Ekarin was just sandstone and the Demotia was just carbonates and the Antabanium was just shells. Like we have those deposits later also. Like
yeah, we have sandstone deposits later, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it still even assuming those three things, it still doesn't make sense. Like why wouldn't he have like Permian sands, like sandstone from the
or
Permian
Triassic
mixed
sandstone.
with like it makes no sense.
Yeah, no, you're right. I didn't even think about it that way, but yeah, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, the argument that each type of rock represents a particular environment is nonsensical because we have sandstone from deserts, and these Ediacaran organisms were all aquatic. So how is that argument supposed to work? Yeah, no, this is just bananas. It's just bananas.
I really want to see his family grave. They were buried in that order, but they didn't live in that order. I want to see how that happened. Just wondering.
When you then there became another issue.
He can't suppress his own laughter about the bullshit that's coming out of his mouth.
Oh
Sorry.
no! This is the thumbnail for the next show. If you're going to do a next show.
Yes, please, Peter, please crop that.
Okay, hold on. I need to.
That's so good.
Okay, check. Okay.
Because I really liked the last picture you sent me. It was very good.
Yeah, I already had one in mind, but I'll make two and I'll let you pick.
Okay, like I imagine like putting like the Mickey Mouse wizard hat on him like that. And,
Oh.
Or Kent Hovind under the one hand and Ken Ham under the other. Never mind.
and adding some Sith lightning from bolts from his hand.
Oh, that would be very funny. That would be very good. Yep.
We will see what we can do.
Unlimited fan fiction. Yeah.
Okay.
That once we decided on that and we're satisfied with that, we then thought, well, wait a minute. If there's only 12 places where this is found and they're all in the same sequence, how does that work? We're burying them in the same sequence, suggesting that whatever process takes three different faunas that are side by side and buries them in a particular sequence is occurring in the same way, 12 different places around the world. At the same time, that was the next question. We then asked, okay, how closely can we determine the age of the 12 different deposits around the world?
Pause for a moment. So just to remind again, they were grad students, or he says they were grad students in a class. So this group of grad students, no shade on grad students, obviously, but like having been one, but like he's claiming that this group of grad students came up with a narrative for for the environment and the time for these fossils at a point in which in the scientific literature and to this day, like this was true then, it's still true now, that is completely contrary to all the facts about these environments. Like, I don't really care that a group of students came up with this. Sorry. Your suppositions about this are almost completely worthless. I don't know what to tell you. Like just saying, well, okay, it seemed like the gap between them was shrinking, therefore they were laid down together. They must have been at the same time. Like that's a complete leap in logic. So,
like I also I also would guess that like actual floods don't deposit like sandstone, then carbonates,
Yeah, isn't
then
it funny how
shales.
that works? The one flood created multiple facies with different depositional environments. That's kind of crazy. It's wild how that happened. I wonder if that's ever going to get explained. How water causes that. Probably not. All right, we can keep going.
And again, we concluded that we cannot discern their age. We cannot discern differences in their age at the level of the radiometric pixel. So they might actually be all at exactly the same moment in time, and that the same event, a global event, buried them in the same sequence for that reason, which was getting more and more uncomfortable for the people that were in the group with me, and I was getting more and more excited about this. This is cool.
I
think he has to know better.
I can see why the people in his group were uncomfortable. So he's now saying that the flood was 500 million years ago.
Right.
Yeah, makes sense, right?
Flood,
yeah, because he already settled on that date.
Yes.
He keeps forgetting that. He's still
He's an old Earth creationist, right? Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
he's a young Earth creationist.
Oh no! Oh, sorry.
Kurt Wise works for AIG. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's going to come up with some way that we can disregard all the radiometric stuff.
Is he still working for AIG? Because he said millions of years a lot of times during this presentation.
Well, that's the standard story for it, is what he's saying. That's the standard.
Yes, but he hasn't talked about the fact that that couldn't happen because the Earth wasn't created then.
Well, I think he's just saying, like, this is what the scientists think, and then this is what we figured out, which, by the way, he didn't do any research. There's no, he didn't, like, investigate any of these facies. He was just in a group with a couple other students, and they made a huge conclusion, or a huge leap from actual data. They made this huge unwarranted leap, and then he just kind of ran with it. Yeah, I'd also be kind of uncomfortable with that if I had a person in my group who was making these huge unwarranted jumps in logic.
Well, meanwhile, he thinks he's doing stand-up comedy. He thinks he's funny, so we don't know.
Right.
Okay, this is a global event. No time is involved, and perhaps there's no time sequence involved at all. It suggests that, in my mind, I'm thinking we got a global inundation event, a global flood event. So we've got, this suggested that perhaps the uppermost Precambrian are actually the very beginning of the flood deposits, and that they're preserving a pre-flood ecological sequence of some sort.
Wait a second.
Now let's turn to the upper Proterozoic.
Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. I'll let him finish. Then I'll ask.
Diamictites, which are also part of the story. When we look at these puppies in detail, we begin to see some extraordinary things. It's hard to see in this particular photograph, but we have these things called exploded boulders. We're finding these boulders that are really big, and they're exploded. If you draw a line around the boulders, and that sort of thing's a little easier to do. It's often sometimes hard to do, even in place, but you recognize that all the pieces are separated, but you can see where they could be put back together. The jigsaw puzzle pieces fit, and just put them back, move them over a few inches, and they just slip right into place. So the boulder in cross-section looks like it's been blown up and then frozen right there. It's like, what in the world is that?
Like it was in ice or something? Like a glacial deposit? Which is what the diamictites are from?
I think those boulders were on top of the fountains of the deep when they broke open, and that's why they...
Oh, is that what happened?
I mean, by now I can make my own creationist arguments. And
it's true.
9 times out of 10, they will agree with me too.
Why are we as good at making creationist arguments, if not better, than the creationists. Like, why?
I still think we need to make a creationist wiki and put the most insane claims on that and wait until creationists start using them.
That's called Conservapedia.
No. So Conservapedia.
Peter, I don't think we could
Nope.
make anything more crazy than what's on Conservapedia.
We have to come up with things that are more crazy than that, and then wait until.
Don't know if we can.
Yes, and then wait until creationists run with it, and then wait about a year and a half, and then post a video and everywhere on the internet that this was a hoax and this was done by atheists, and then see all the creationists backpedaling that they knew from the get-go that those arguments were bad.
The problem is I don't know, like the guys who go on like creationist talk shows nowadays with their propositions for like how to solve the what do you call it? Like the heat problem. Like those are the most insane solutions, quote quote, that I've ever seen. They come up with like new, they have to come up with new physics to explain this. So I don't know if it's
What have you heard from them? Like, what's the one example?
oh,
I'm
there were like,
curious.
what was it, like the cold slabs or whatever? So like regions of the mantle that were just absorbing the heat or whatever.
Gold slabs.
That was one of them. I don't remember what
Like-
really, but or
Like,
what,
magic heat sinks.
yeah,
Magic heat
basically heat sinks. What was the other one? Like the supermassive hurricanes that would like expel the heat into space. Oh, I'm sorry. My unfinished journey. $2. Oh, he's also uncomfortable. Yeah, and then wait, hold on, Savage. What do you name now? What do you wait,
It's
Savage?
It's in the
Savage,
chat. It's in the chat.
1080 radiometric pixels. I see it now.
Yeah.
Cobra for $5. No, those boulders are the ones that fell through and opened up the firmament. Oh, okay.
HD radiometric. I like it.
Hypercanes. There we go. The hypercanes. Yeah. New physics is just technical jargon for magic. Very true. Yeah, the hypercanes. Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Yeah. So basically, Nestle, it's hurricanes that are so massive that they basically expel the heat from the flood into space, and that's where the heat went.
Okay, and they conveniently avoided the arc somehow.
Yes. Don't worry about that. RJ points out there's a 2021 geology paper on Mistaken Point where there are samples in that spot alone spread over 10 million years. Yep, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about the Ediacaran as a whole, the Ediacaran as a whole goes from 635 to 540 million years ago. That's almost like 90 million years? Yeah, it's almost 90 million, like 85 million years basically. So that's a pretty substantial amount of time.
Oh, but when did the Avalon start?
The Avalon was like 635 million years ago. Because the Avalon was the very beginning of the Cambrian. Avalon explosion.
Smitty made me laugh.
Yeah, okay. So,
Hold on. Hold on. Smitty said
go ahead.
the arc had inertial dampener and stasis fields. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what happened. Okay, sorry. 575 million years ago.
Yeah.
was
The
Avalon.
Ediacaran fauna did not start at the beginning of the Ediacaran. Like, it's a little bit later, yeah.
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah, so you have the Avalon, then is it? Oh, you have the Avalon, then like the White Sea, and then the Nama, don't you?
Nama, yes.
Yeah,
I think
that's
so,
what it
yeah.
is. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, I was mistaken earlier. Yeah. Okay, that was my mistake. Yeah, my mistake. Yeah, the Avalon, the White Sea, and then the Nama, and so you have those assemblages, and Dickinsonia is from the White Sea, or really most of the famous Ediacarans are from the White Sea. So Dickinsonia, Kimberella, Tribrachidium, all those guys are from that one.
I think the Nama has like Yinglinglia, or how do you pronounce it again?
Yeah, that guy, and like the Arboriomorphs, because basically the Avalon, you have like Charnia and those weird Frondos guys,
Yeah.
and then you have the White Sea. So basically, you have in the Avalon the first Eumetazoans, which is what Charnia is. It's like the earliest Eumetazoan or stem Eumetazoan, possibly. So you have these early Eumetazoans. And remember, you find sponges. The first evidence of sponges 650 million years ago in the Cryogenian. So you have the first Metazoans in the Cryogenian. Then you have Eumetazoans kind of midway through the Ediacaran. And then you have stem bilaterians showing up kind of shortly after that, like Dickinsonia. And then you have Icaria and guys like that. And then you have you also have Nidarians and like Aurora Lumina, and then Hotia. And so so you have a bunch of like metazoans at the time. Vince O'Connor for $5. Hypercanes. Is that anything like candy canes? Yes. Except they're made of water. And they're not very tasty. So not really.
I think you might be mistaken, because we've seen one of those just outside of Amsterdam. It was, again, I think. And Nestle can confirm this. Those are called windhoes.
Windows?
Windhoes.
Okay.
Am I correct, Nestle, or am I correct?
A windhoe, I like it.
No?
I think I'm gonna work that into my lexicon.
No, it is windhoes with an S.
Windhoes, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we get those down here, so I think I will start working that into my lexicon.
Okay. Continue.
Yes.
We have phenomena called stirrstroms, which are very large avalanche deposits. A stirrstrom is caused whenever a pile of rock, something in excess of 1 billion metric tons, is dropped more than 1 kilometer. If you reach those...
Whereas surströmming is a fish that you don't want to open other than underwater. And you can Google that.
Okay. A stirrstrom. I've never heard of this. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. So a rock avalanche is a large landslide consisting of soil and rock which travels at a great horizontal distance, as much as 20 or 30 times compared to its initial vertical drop. Stirrstroms have similarities to the flow of glaciers, mud flows, and lava flows. They flow across the land fairly easily, and their mobility increases when volume increases. They have been found on other bodies in the solar system, including the Moon, Mars, Venus, Io, Callisto, Iapetus, and Phobos. So they may be triggered similarly to other types of landslides by heavy rains, earthquakes, or volcanic activity. They do not necessarily require water to be present to move.
No, Jax. It was a solar system-wide flood.
Oh wait, like the lunar bukkake, right?
No, the entire solar system was engulfed by the flood.
That is what Hovind claims. He claims that the craters on the moon were caused by rocks that were flung there when the fountains of the deep broke open, and the craters on the backside of the moon, because there are craters on the backside of the moon as well. Those were formed by the rocks falling back to Earth.
Oh, so that's how that happened.
Not kidding.
But does Kent Hovind also believe it? Because I have heard about it from Nephilim 3.
Yeah, I thought it was Nephilim 3 who said that.
No, this was Kent Hovind in a debate with Steven Anderson.
Oh, okay. Wait, with Steven Anderson?
Yes.
The creationist?
The hate preacher.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's insane. Okay.
And he hated Hovind to the point where halfway into the debate, all of Hovind's responses are, "Why are you so angry at me? I thought we were here for a fun conversation."
That's very funny.
Steven Anderson, for every argument Hovind brought up, said, "This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard." And well, he wasn't wrong. It was sad to agree with Steven Anderson.
That's what's that the onion meme that's like the worst person you know just made a great point, you know?
Yes.
The face.
Yes.
That's very funny. So wait. Why were they debating about the flood?
They were debating about young Earth creationist arguments in general.
But they're both young Earth creationists.
Yes, but I think Steven Anderson had put out an article somewhere saying that people shouldn't follow Kent Hovind, and then some genius thought, "Hey, let's put these two in a hangout and let them battle it out in real time." And I mean, yeah, it's a tie. So that was a great debate. On the other hand, watching Greg Locke lose to a flat earther and then lose half of his congregation because they think the earth is flat, it was a tie.
That's very funny.
Yeah, that was extremely funny. I mean, if you want to see Greg Locke lose very, very badly, the debate is still up. So Locke deleted it from his channel.
He lost to a flat earther?
Yes, and deleted the entire debate from his channel, and then other people started putting it up again with the added part where half of the people of Greg Locke's church just walked out on him.
That's hilarious.
Saying it was blasphemy because the Bible says the earth is flat.
And they're right. The Bible does say the earth is flat. However, I do want to point out, this reminded me of today. I've actually seen more than one post in the last week. One from Marjorie Taylor Greene, because of course, and then one today from Candace Owens. That apparently dinosaur denial is going mainstream.
Have you seen the post where someone took the picture of the female Neanderthal in a French museum and put that picture up next to Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they look like twins?
No, but that's very funny.
That is. I can get you that picture.
Personally, I see a resemblance with her and like the Titans from Attack on Titan. Do you know the show that?
My God. Oh my gosh. It's terrible. But fair and balanced. But yeah, so like both Candace and Candace is an idiot. Like she's a useful idiot. We did a video a while back. The video was about RFK, but we dunked on Candace too because she was stupid enough to misread a chart that she posted, in which this chart said, it said deaths per year from tetanus. Yeah, I think it was tetanus. And she says, "Wait a second, you're telling me only 100 kids ever died from tetanus? No, you idiot! It says 100 kids annually." Like, it was just, she's so stupid. And then of course Marjorie Taylor Greene, also a complete idiot. This is the woman who posted that like Jewish space lasers were the resulted in fires in California. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. Georgia elected her, by the way. Just throwing that out there. And then okay, I also wanted to point out Thylaka Leon Kennedy commented, "Kurt Wise did his PhD under Stephen Jay Gould, and it's genuinely incredible that you could learn from someone like that and still be a YAC." And I agree. However, Fishhead Salad commented the quote from from the God Delusion. Quote, this is from Kurt Wise. If all the evidence in the universe turned against creationism, I would be the first to admit it, but I would still be a creationist because that is what the Word of God seems to indicate. So you have to remember, for Kurt Wise, as well as for Todd Wood, these guys are your more, quote, honest creationists in that they admit freely that there is evidence for evolution, that evolution seems to be indicated by the available data, but they choose to believe creationism. Right? And I posted about this today on Twitter. I don't know how to argue with people like this. I don't know how to argue with someone who sincerely like looks you in the eye and says, I do not care what the data says because my particular belief in this thing is stronger than the data.
It's basically saying, even if I'm wrong, I'm still right.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Yeah.
And I don't know how to argue with someone who says that. I don't think you can. I don't think they can be reasoned with. I think at that point you just kind of have to like shake their hand and walk away. There's nothing else you can do there.
Like you're like a Buzz Lightyear. Like how does the quote again? You're a sad little man, and I pity you.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's basically it. Like that's all you can do.
So, Jackson, Jackson,
yes.
I'm a sad little man, but so here's the data. Look at the screen.
That is very funny. Yeah, true. Yeah.
The only difference is the brow ridge. That's the only difference.
I think that might be
larger.
I think that might be a lighting issue. I'm pretty sure that if you light Marjorie Taylor Greene from the top, just like the model, I'm not sure. I think so. I think it'll fit.
How do we? Nobody asked how the Neanderthal feels about being compared to Marjorie. We're probably hurting her feelings.
Oh, Smitty has the correct quote. You're a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's the original quote from the first Toy Story movie. Yeah.
Yeah. He. It's like there's nothing you can do there, and like that honestly, like black pills me more than anything is talking to people like this who, fortunately, there aren't very many. Fortunately, I do not usually meet people like Kurt Wise or like Todd Wood who say, I know I'm wrong, but I have God on my side, or something like that. Most people you can argue with. Most people say, I'm following the evidence where it leads, and then you can have an argument about the evidence. And I'm very grateful for that. I'd much rather people like believe that there are, or believe on bad reasons stuff, because then you can argue with them instead of people who just think like, well, I believe this because it's just what I believe. Right. Like, so, that's just my opinion. Kind of black pills me a little bit, but I don't know. Anyway. All right, we can keep going. I've rambled long enough.
Those conditions, even if it's in water or if it's in air or even in space, any one of those conditions, you drop more than 1 billion metric tons of rock 1 kilometer. What happens is a stirstrom results. So stirstrom is a German word that means river of stone.
Okay.
It hits the ground and shoots out at 100 to 200 miles an hour across the landscape as a river of stone, taking out cities, taking out, this is rock, moving, and it moves as a unit until it reaches about 10 to 11 times its width in length, and then it loses its energy and freezes in place. Not on a cold freeze, but a and when you cut into the stuff and look at the boulders, those boulders that dropped 1 kilometer explode upon impact, and the pieces move apart inches and then get shot along with, everything moves at the same velocity, but
Okay.
sand and that sort of thing makes its way in between the pieces so that when it freezes in place, you have an exploded boulder.
Okay.
So we know the mechanism of the exploded boulder.
Okay.
Now remember, this is a diamictite. It's supposed to be a glacier.
Wait a second. Hold
Moving
on. Are you telling me that if there are glaciers nearby, there cannot be volcanoes? Is that what you're saying? It is impossible to have both at the same time. Because I think Iceland would like to have a word. Just saying. Or or what, Spitsbergen, or any of those any of those like islands with volcanoes or near volcanoes up in like the Arctic Circle. I think those islands would like a word. Because it seems to me, it really just seems like he's just saying, yeah, if they're in a glacier, then like there can't be landslides or volcanoes or lava flows. Am I wrong on that? Because that's what it seems to me like he's saying. Do you get that?
Yeah, they are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. DM original in situ academic excavation wing Black Pill. Black Pill means like you feel like completely defeated, like you feel like everything is pointless. You've probably heard of like, this all originates, of course, with the Matrix, which is like a trans allegory. We take the red pill, which is estrogen, and which is the analogy for estrogen. But so Neo in the Matrix takes the red pill, and he goes on, this whirlwind trip with the rest of the team, and they, show him that he's in the Matrix, and there's lots of different philosophic ideas kind of wrapped up in there, like, are you a brain in a vat? How do we know this is the real world? All that sort of stuff. But of course, if he had taken the blue pill, then he would have remained in the world. He would have, just gone back to his normal daily life. So red pill then kind of took on a life of its own, because people took red pill to be like, yes, you're like rising above the normies, essentially. Right. As Icarus says, you're going deeper into the rabbit hole. Yes, the Matrix was a trans allegory, because the people, the brothers who made the Matrix are both sisters now. And they have said this in interviews, that that's what the Matrix was. So what was I saying? So yes, so yeah, you go deeper into the rabbit hole, you find out the truth, quote about everything, and then the red pill movement kind of got, I don't know if I don't even, if I can even say got hijacked. It just kind of is a like a misogynistic,
It's
right-wing
like
group.
it's like a pretentious way of saying like, oh, I am willing to accept uncomfortable truths, but the reality is that these people are very comfortable with their beliefs, very comfortable with their beliefs.
I watched a debate that Andrew Tate was in. I'm just gonna throw this out there. I like watching like Vosh and Destiny, like arguing with right-wing nuts. I know, crazy stuff. And of course, Andrew Tate is one of those red pill guys. And during that conversation, Destiny points out to them that like, you guys say that you're not part of like the normie, you're not the normie group, but you guys have your own script. Your script is just whatever, the Jews have taken over everything. COVID was made, or was made in the lab, and all the celebrities are part of like a big human trafficking ring, stuff like that. Like, whatever they say about normal people, they have their own script. It's just, red pill is the right-wing nut job version of being woke. Right. They see reality for what it really is according to them. Exactly. That's a really good point, Smitty. So then the black pill from that is like, you have given up, essentially. And I feel like I'm pretty optimistic generally. Like, we make videos on this channel like this one where we argue either with people directly or we make videos about topics to educate people. Of course, I work at 2 educational institutions in real life. But at the same time, and like I don't typically let it get me down or anything, but like when you run into people like this who know they're wrong and don't care, sometimes that's kind of hard. I don't know. What do you think about that, Nestle?
Yeah, it's a mess. I think. Like it's also like about also the I do also agree with Smitty's point mostly, but the
That
way
he has all the
woke.
context voice clips to ruin me?
I don't know like about the red pill being
Yeah.
the right wing version of woke. Like I mostly agree with that, but nowadays woke doesn't really mean anything anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I agree.
Yeah.
Which I mean, you could say probably the same thing about like red pill too. Like, what does red pill mean? Well, 10 different people are probably going to give you 10 different
It's an
answers. So,
added
yeah.
attitude. Like it's an attitude basically. It's not really
Right.
anything you particularly believe or your reasoning. It's just like your confidence to express your confidence in something or in an ironic or in an ironic way perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's right. Okay, anyway, we can keep going.
Extraordinarily slowly over long periods of time and then melting the little puppy out. There's no mechanism for stirstrom there's no stirstrom there. So that puts some doubt in this diamictite interpretation as a glacial deposit.
Doesn't?
A second
I don't really
problem
think so.
is that these diamictites, which are found around the world at this particular level, when you do paleomagnetic work on them to indicate their latitude indicates they're basically at the equator.
Wait, hold
Okay.
on, pause.
They're
Pause. Okay, wait a second. Wait a minute. This is evidence. This is literally the exact evidence that geologists use to establish the snowball Earth hypothesis. This is that evidence. So unless he's about to say, which he very well might. I did cut him off. Unless he's about to say that there was a global freeze event prior to the global flood, which he may, like that is the argument, right? That is the argument for why snowball Earth or slush ball Earth, if you want to call it that, for why that happened, or what the evidence is that it happened, I should say.
Like this, he shows from something from the upper Proterozoic. It's probably like from the Cryogenian.
Right,
Also,
exactly. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. We can keep going.
They're equatorial.
Uh-huh.
There's some other evidence that indicates that they're going over marine waters. So they're equatorial ocean.
Uh-huh.
Equatorial oceans are warm. That's
They
not where you
normally
expect to
are.
find glaciers. You find
that's
glaciers
true.
in mountainous regions. You do not find them at the equator. If you find them at the equator, they're on top of mountains. They're not associated with mountains, with equatorial oceans. But many
Typically
of
not.
these diamictites are low magnitude, near the low equatorial latitude. So what's going on there? Interparenthetical note, by the way. After this work was done, and since that time, the conventional world has actually taken note of this and taken this seriously and went, well, I guess that means there were glaciers at the equator across equatorial oceans.
True.
And so now there's another period of Earth history called the Cryogene,
Hey, look,
which
there
is
you
the
go.
period of frozen Earth. It's the period of a frozen Earth idea.
Yes.
That because the evidence indicates we have diamictites at the equator in the ocean, it must have been that the equatorial ocean was frozen. And if the equatorial ocean was frozen, everything's frozen, right?
Ding, 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 ding.
My
He's
question on that, and I'm still in that parenthetical note here, is if you've got the whole Earth frozen, how do you move glaciers How do glaciers pick up rocks and move and drop rocks?
Wait,
They
wait,
can't
pause.
nobody can move.
Pause. I have an explanation for this. Are you guys ready for it? Hear me out, guys. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Volcanoes were still a thing. They did not cease to exist. I don't understand. Go ahead.
Also, I believe like nowadays the scientists are like more towards a slush ball Earth. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't a completely frozen solid
Right.
sphere. But I thought it probably was like still some liquid ocean at the equator, where at high altitudes at the equator you have the glaciers that can flow into the ocean still at that point. So it's not like everything was a solid sphere of ice. Probably.
Somebody said it earlier. I think it might have been Smitty. Yeah, Smitty. The ice magic cancels out the fire magic. Duh. Correct. Yeah.
I also like this freeze frame. It could also be a thumbnail, but I still prefer the previous thumbnail.
We're spoiled
Yeah,
for
I think I'll
choice
get it.
at this moment, and since
Yes.
we had the discussion black pill, red pill, I'm more and more leaning to this guy being on the white powder while he gave this presentation, because he's so animated and his eyes just look. I mean, I could be wrong. We don't.
You're
It's
like putting some more Morbius glasses on him, and one hand the blue pill and one hand the red.
Yeah.
Pill.
Yeah,
And then it says like travel down the rabbit hole for the title or something like that. That'd be very funny. Guys, I don't know. I genuinely, it has to be the ice magic cancels out fire magic thing. Like I can't. There's no other way he could possibly rationalize this. Like he thinks, okay, so background. I don't know if he's going to say this at all, but the reason for snowball or slush ball Earth is that you had the continent Rodinia, the supercontinent. Basically, all of Earth's land was concentrated in one supercontinent. Now, at the time, the supercontinent Rodinia, had moved to the equator. Now, at the equator, you have increased rates of like sediment. What's the term for it? Like sediment breakdown. Erosion. There we go. I'm an idiot. You have increased rates of erosion at the equator. And when you have erosion, you are pulling carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere as a result of this process. So because you have like all of the landmass at the equator, you are having lots and lots of erosion, and you are pulling lots and lots of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. And so you get the reverse of a greenhouse event. You get an ice house event. So the Earth gets cooler and cooler and cooler. And that is sort of very broad scale, obviously, what happened in the Cryogenian. I believe I'm correct on those that order of events. Oh,
I believe I may be mistaken, but in one of the books I recommended in the previous show from last week from Nick Lane, I think either Transformers or The Vital Question by Nick Lane, and he also discusses the like basically what happened during the Cryogenian, where you also have the chemical weathering with the carbon dioxide being absorbed by the rock. We also have like during those.
Well, that's what I was saying, right? You have the weathering,
and you also have like a nutrient runoff from those glaciations, which fueled algae bloom possibly, yeah.
Okay.
Which can have also like increase the oxygen content of the atmosphere and the ocean as well.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. Savage 1080 radiometric pixel cobra for $2 says more like the blue crystal.
And there's also like maybe a bit of off topic, but there's also an interesting thing about the rotation of the Earth. Like before the snowball Earths, what you had was like there was a resonance. Like I don't know exactly how this works, but there was a resonance between the atmosphere and the rotation of the Earth, such that the rotation of the Earth no longer slowed down, like at that point. But the glaciations broke that resonance, and such now the rotation of the Earth slows down from that point again. It's really weird.
Wait, you said the Earth's rotation was no longer slowing in, and what? Say that again.
It's like that over time the moon recedes from the Earth, right?
Right.
Because the
Right.
angular momentum of the Earth's rotation is transferred to the orbit of the moon. But
Okay.
I've read that at some point, I think it was around the start of the quote boring billion, where the Earth got into a resonance, a sort of resonance, which prevented it from slowing down further. But then that resonance was broken by the glaciations, and now it continued to slow down and transfer that angular momentum to the orbit of the moon. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Okay. Cool. Okay, we can keep going.
Move. They're frozen. So the very evidence that was used to determine that this is a cryogene cannot be produced if there was a cryogene. You can't do it.
I like how he thinks nobody thought of this
why in the
before.
world this became popular. And at one point it was...
I don't know if you noticed, but that was several thumbnails in a row what he did there. Just
No, I didn't. I didn't. I didn't see it.
you missed that?
I did. I sure did.
Okay, so now you have to watch that again.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So
watch closely.
Okay.
If there was a cryogene,
Uh-huh.
you can't do it. I'm baffled by why in the world this became popular. And at one point it was suggested,
fair
and
enough.
man, it just went crazy.
Okay. Okay, but I do think it's kind of funny how creationists are always like, I'm the only person who ever thought of this. Nobody thought of this before me. Which again, no. Wrong. Like he thinks he's the only person who ever thought like, how could you have how could this be glacial deposit if these rocks got, blown far away? Like you think nobody thought of that beforehand? Really? Okay.
You say beforehand. I'd say belowhand. Look.
I love that image. It's so good.
And it's currently an actual period of time in the geologic record, in the lithostratigraphic column, the cryogene.
Yeah, it's also like 90
Are you
million
kidding?
years.
But anyway, close parenthetical note. There's the low latitude paleomag evidence. This stuff is thick. It's in excess of a mile in thickness. The diamictite is huge. Diamictites produced by modern glaciers are tens of feet thick, tens of feet in depth. Pleistocene glaciation produced, again, tens, maybe up to 100 feet. There's 72 feet of gravel under Chicago. That's a pretty deep for Pleistocene glaciers. That's pretty.
Okay, so the difference between all of these things is that the Pleistocene lasted, 2 million years? Hold on, let me see. Pleistocene, 2 million years. Okay, so or 2.5. All right, so the Pleistocene lasted about 2.5 million years. How long did the Cryogenian last? I'm curious. The Cryogenian lasted, from 720 to 635 million years ago. So again, almost 90 million years. You idiot. You complete buffoon. The difference between the cryogenian glacial deposits and the more recent ones like Pleistocene or the modern ones is that we're talking about a difference of like 40 times the length. Is he going to mention that? Do we want to take bets on whether or not he's going to mention that? Just sheer curiosity. Nestle, do you think he's going to mention it?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay, all right. Let's find out.
Deep. These things are in excess of 1 mile. They dwarf any known glaciers we have today quite
Crazy.
significantly. And I think, actually, I had to stop doing research in this area because killed off all my assistants. They wouldn't come with me anymore. But I was deducing, I think I was right on the verge of concluding that actually the true depth of this unit is something in excess of 3 miles. But that's, so I think it's even thicker than a mile.
Think? You don't know?
And also there are enormous boulders in here. Steve has made allusion to this. This is one of the smaller ones, about a quarter mile in diameter. It's actually funny. Steve and I started work on this area. We just happened to choose just this one place. And we started work on this. We're taking making geological observations for days. And we're putting in faults and this sort of thing where you would put in faults because we changed the angle of the rock and all of this. And at the end of this, Steve says,
he puts in faults everywhere. Just saying.
True. But the only person whose fault it is.
There's just something wrong here. This is not working. Because our faults were beginning to define a circle. It's like, you see, that's not what faults do. And he says, do you think we're actually on a boulder? You know, I mean, when you're on the ground and you got something that big, how do you know that it's, I mean, we mapped for days on a boulder and didn't realize we were on one boulder. The boulder is itself with layers of rock, so there's a geology in the boulder. And but it doesn't match the geology of the stuff it's in.
Possible moment.
And eventually,
like every time he mentions the boulder, my mind goes to the episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender where they have the boulder character.
Oh my god!
If you know, you know. Thank you.
That's pretty funny.
I really like it when he said it killed off all my assistants. None of them wanted to travel with me anymore. I can see why. If this is
guys,
how,
the boulder.
Yes.
The boulder.
If you get excited by a boulder and then I mean no, I wouldn't want to be there.
Boulders can be cool. That's true. You know, I like that boulder. That is a nice boulder.
Yeah.
But like, if he's working with Andrew Snelling on this, odds are pretty good. He's doing this as a creationist, right? He's not doing this as a normal scientist, and then and so then it's really not difficult to figure out why they had no students go with them, right? Just saying.
Maybe the students were
like
smart.
No students wanted to be associated with this. This organization.
They were smarter than they were. Yes.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. Okay, 5 more minutes of this.
you know, we got our heads screwed on right, and we realized, whoa, this is a boulder. Cool. And then that began a series of discoveries of boulders, bigger and bigger boulders. We even rented a plane at one point to see this because you just can't see it from the ground. It's like, now it's even better. You can go on Google Earth. That's the best photos of these things is from Google Earth because they're so big. This is amazing. So now here's a problem. When you get up to, and some of these are bigger, they're mile in diameter boulders. When you get to that mass, that size, they've got a fair bit of mass to them. There's a problem with ice. If you put enough pressure on ice, because of the strange characteristic of water that upon freezing or very close to freezing, it actually expands. And if you put enough pressure on ice, it actually melts. This is the only substance that does that in the universe, okay? But if you put a big enough rock in ice or on ice, it melts the ice underneath it. The ice might be able to roll it in front of it, but it can't carry a boulder that is a mile in diameter.
Now,
it melts the
wait,
ice
hear me out,
underneath it.
guys.
So we've
Wait,
got
pause.
this problem with these
Hear me out, guys. Hear me out. I have a solution
Sorry,
to this problem.
sorry. This pause is just killing me.
That's a pretty good pause. I have the solution, guys. I have it here. I'm going to share it with you. Hear me out. It is volcanoes. What if there were still volcanoes during the Cryogenian? Thoughts? Peter, what do you think?
I think that might very well be possible.
Okay, all right. I just had to make sure.
Yeah.
I just had to make sure. There are no freestanding boulders a mile in diameter, says Alex Markle.
Yes.
Fair.
Smitty
Historic reference from Jackson. Yes.
Smitty says, "Dude is stoned." I think I agree with Smitty.
Also, if
He's
I'm not
not
mistaken,
on.
like,
He's
the-
not onto something. He's on something. That's what he is.
He looks like he is holding a transparent glass and tries to kiss it, or like. But if I'm not mistaken, like I don't know if glaciers like carry rocks by picking them up and then transporting them. I think they just push them, right? Like it's not.
Yeah, don't
It's
they?
not
They
that
just
they
like
are-
run into stuff.
Yeah, they're just pushing and it's almost like maybe not exactly like a bulldozer, but it's just they don't have to pick them up. They can just like move them around.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and that's why glaciers also leave these markings behind, like these boulders when they are being moved across the surface. You have all these scratches on the surface, right? I think you can see those at like the park in New York. You have these stones with these scratch marks, if I'm not mistaken. And like how the Central Park in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they have those surface stones where you can see the scratch marks left behind by the glaciers scraping the boulders around.
Are we sure? Are we sure those are scratch marks? Because I recently watched an episode of Maya Atkinson where she was reviewing a video of Mud Fossil University. Those could be stretch marks because there are vaginas all over the Earth and on planets, and one of the planets gave birth to the Earth because there's a giant vagina. Yeah, so for people who haven't discovered Sunday Science with Maya Atkinson, please go watch. That was a hilarious episode.
I wasn't aware of that until now, but I believe it. It makes sense to me.
See? Maya's still here. That was I learned
I
so
found
much.
this site.
I learned so much about stone vaginas. I mean, it was great.
I found a site that shows some pictures from like the stones in Central Park, and you can see these scratches on the surface.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So I don't think these like you also don't see like even in today's glaciers you don't see the boulders being carried on top of the glaciers. They are probably just embedded within the glacier, right? So they don't have to be picked up by the glacier to be moved around. So
Yeah.
at least that's my thinking.
No, I'm pretty sure you're right on that. That seems correct to me. Yeah. Okay. Maybe we'll do like one more clip. And we'll cut it.
Enormous boulders. And they're not just enormous boulders, they're imbricated. They're laying on top of one another. It's like, yeah. You can't have floating ice carrying a boulder that big and dropping it onto as a drop stone. And it just don't work. So this suggests something is not right with the glacial interpretation. And again, here we have
it seems like your interpretation of what glaciers are isn't
out
right.
here, imbricated in place. Bunch of them. One layer with, there's 3 of them sitting on top of one another, imbricated. There's several more over here. These particular ones are about 1 mile in diameter, about 200 meters thick, kind of dinner plate shaped things, sitting in place and stacked in this fashion. Just, you can't explain this as if there's a current or an avalanche direction in a particular direction.
Whoa, crazy.
Which suggested to us that this is not at all a glacial deposit. This is an avalanche deposit. You got the Sturstrom-caused exploded boulders. You're carrying enormous boulders. So it's an enormous deposit, enormous avalanche deposit that apparently dropped a long distance, something in excess of 1 mile, or 1 kilometer, sorry, at least 1 kilometer, and then shot quickly across the landscape, and it's an avalanche deposit that's more than 1 mile thick. So this is a monstrous avalanche deposit. And the thing is about this that you can find these puppies the same age around the world. So these are not glacial deposits. By the way, the striated boulders, that avalanche material, it's the same way glaciers smooth out boulders and then striate them. This avalanche does the same thing to boulders. So we can explain all of the features, the diamictite and everything by this. But we find these crazy things through the middle of Australia, through the middle of Asia. They're global, and they're dated within a radiometric pixel of one another. They're the same age. See, whoa, what's going on here? It suggests that we've got an event that created avalanches worldwide of enormous extent. What could this possibly be? We suggested that, in fact, this is the collapse of the pre-flood ocean, the edge of the ocean, the edge of the continent before the flood. Big pieces of continental mass broke off and fell into, again, in the current ocean, you got 4 kilometers depth between the edge of the continent and the bottom of the ocean. So you've got the sufficient vertical to get a Sturstrom kind of situation. And if it's a big enough hit, you can collapse the continental margins around the entire world.
Jackson, you want to pause? You want to pause here?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Go ahead, Nestle.
I'm just curious. Like he showed photos of these like very big boulders. But I want to look them up. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to find like
how many miles were they? Like 1 mile wide or 2 miles?
Yeah, he said something like that. It was like 1 mile wide or something like that. I'm trying to find a paper maybe that he wrote on this. And I may have found it? Question mark. I think that. So did he say it was Steve Austin and him or Andrew Snelling?
I don't recall.
I found a paper that this might be it. Or maybe it just references what he's talking about. I'm putting it here in our private chat. Although I guess I can put that out there in the live chat. There you go, folks. Because it talks about diamictites And this says Kingston Peak Formation. Peak in California, I guess. Is there like a geology of this? Kingston Peak diamictite. Diamictites in the Kingston Peak Formation. Okay. Oh, okay. Let me close that. Kingston Peak records glacial sedimentation during the Cryogenian in Death Valley, California. I think this is what he's talking about. Yeah, I think this is the formation he's referring to. I think it's the Kingston Peak. These iron formations are part of a thick sedimentary succession containing glaciogenic diamictites, together with mass flow breccias, conglomerates, sandstones, and siltstones. The Kingston Peak formations are mineralogically and sedimentologically simple, consisting of finely laminated hematitic siltstones that contain up to 50%. Is that weight percent iron? Okay, this is unequivocal textural evidence indicates a sedimentary origin for these iron formations. Therefore the Kingston Peak iron formations are interpreted to be primary chemical sediments deposited by the mixing of oxygenated glaciogenic fluids with ferruginous seawater. Okay, so apparently nobody still agrees, or to this day, no one agrees with him, because this paper came out in 2018, that those are non-glacial deposits. So to this day, nobody agrees with him. Cool. Big
I'm
shout.
still curious. Like I'm still curious about those big boulders. They don't mention anything about a mile wide boulder, right?
I'm not sure. I mean, like, he's so vague on.
Like I'm beginning to suspect that those aren't even boulders to begin with, but maybe I'm wrong about it. Like I just want to check. What
Somehow
are
that
these
wouldn't
boulders?
surprise me.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. But yeah, it's hard to figure out. They're likely to find a mega sequence commonly deposited during tectonic discontinuities, typically found immediately below. They likely be associated with the micromass discontinuity as well. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't actually boulders. That would not surprise me at all. I don't know. What are those rocks even called? What do you even call those? Like those stones that are inside glaciers?
Drop stones, right?
Drop stones? Is that what it is? So glacial, or let's see, Kingston Peak diamictite drop stone? Question mark? Glacial drop stones. Okay. Much of Kingston Peak. Okay, what is this? Is this a technical page? Nope. Well, let's see. Much of the Kingston Peak Formation consists of diamictite, a poorly sorted mix of boulders, cobbles, pebbles, sand, and silt. Larger cobbles called lonestones. Okay, so it's drop stones. So I found a slippery slope for cryogenian diamictites. Maybe we'll just have to like read about this on our own time, I guess, because we're at the.
Oh, I think I found something.
Okay, what'd you find? What'd you found?
Like I found a website. Let's see. Like I'm not sure who this guy is. He's called Christopher C. 2.
Okay.
And it seems like it's from the website. The website itself is called No Answers in Genesis. So it's basically
I've heard of that
like
guy.
a
Yeah.
yeah. And I see a section on like Kurt Wise, and he mentions the boulders.
Does he respond to that, or?
Yeah, I can link the article. It says a word to the wise. It is a very well
Oh,
put
I think
title.
I came across that. I think I came
And
across that.
it mentions the Kingstone Range.
Word to the
He,
Lord.
like he says in one paragraph, he begins in the Kingstone Range. He, probably referring to Kurt Wise, he and his associates found that, quote, in the middle of a mile-thick sequence of rocks, there are boulders, about 12 boulders here, pointing at the slide image. This is a boulder that's 3/4 of a mile long and a little over 1/4 of a mile wide.
Okay.
This one over here, you can. I think maybe quoting Kurt Wise from the same presentation, perhaps. I don't know. It sounds very similar. Like
Yeah.
he's quoting Kurt Wise, mentioning these 1/4 mile wide and 3/4 mile long boulders. These are huge boulders that have fallen from someplace over here and slid into place here. Mile-sized boulders. End quote. So let's see here. And he gives some more quotes. And oh no, after the last quote, Christopher Thiel continues. Quote, here, Dr. Wise is badly mistaken. The boulders, generally referred to as blocks in the scientific literature, are surrounded by material called diamictite, composed of clastic rocks from fist to car-sized, some with the scratches and grooving that are usually indicative of glacial transports. This is also what coincidentally what I mentioned before about the scratches.
Mm-hmm.
And attendant fill material. It is the diamictite and not the blocks which are considered glacial materials by many geologists.
Oh, okay.
The blocks are something completely different. That's what I get the impression from.
Okay, so
What he calls boulders are actually blocks in the literature.
Okay,
They are
so
called, yeah.
So in essence, the glaciers were like infilling the sediment around the blocks, essentially.
I think so, yes.
Okay. Okay. This makes way more sense. Okay.
I maybe I can quote one last paragraph.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
He's like after the last sentence, it is the diamictite and not the blocks, which are considered glacial materials by many geologists. Dr. Wise got mileage from his incredulity that any scientist would think that mile-long rocks could be carried on top of a glacier. After saying ice cannot carry a mile diameter boulder, Dr. Wise explained that the boulder's mass would cause the ice to melt. This is a strawman argument and a misdirection. Not only are the large blocks not what is traditionally called glacial material, but Dr. Wise has also made glacial transport of any large rock sound ridiculous, even though it has been clearly observed happening. So yeah, it appears that Wise also misrepresents the way glaciers transport rocks. Also,
And Nestle, you were right. According to the very next sentence, glaciers don't carry most rocks on top of the glacier.
Yeah.
As Dr. Wise gave the impression that geologists believe they are transported, as in carried within the denser yet still ductile ice in the base. Yeah, so you were right. So they're not riding on top, so this is ridiculous. Yeah, okay. Wow, good find. Good find.
Yeah.
So he's full of crap, top to bottom. Okay. Anyway, we've gone way over. All right. Well, thank you everybody in the live chat for watching. As always, really appreciate everybody. If everybody could hit the thumbs up on the video before you leave, that would be great. That'd be very very appreciative of that. Thank you, Nestle and Peter, for being here as always. I appreciate you guys.
It's always a pleasure to be here. And by the way, I'm going to make a few segues. If you want more answers in rocks, Maya Atkinson put the link to the video that I mentioned in the chat. Bad Science Sunday, Greek myth is actual history. And Maya even made sure that the rocks were there. How's that for a segue to the outro?
I like it. Very good, very good. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we will see everybody next week. So, bye, everybody.